and welcome once again to Tuskegee's mayors within thou pride of the swift growing South. This is a 5-part series of those who served as African American mayors within the historic city of Tuskegee, Alabama. I'm your host, Ejigadi Colbert, and I'm joined today by the one and the only, the Honorable Omar Neal. Thank you so very much, Mayor, for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and do this with us. This is a great honor.
Oh man, it's a pleasure beyond measure to hang out with you today, Mr. Colbert.
Let's jump right in then. Mayor Neal, remind some and share with others and the viewing audience who you are and whose you are. Where were you born?
Interestingly enough, I was born at John A. Andrew Hospital on the campus of then Tuskegee Institute, now Tuskegee University. So I guess I was born in college. You know, this is my home. This is the genesis of my existence from a baby all the way to now. I mean, Tuskegee has primarily been the place that I have just kind of put my lot down. It has been my focus. It has been my my everything. This is home for me.
Well, tell us something about your matriculating process, or where you went to school. Let's start at the elementary and then go to the high school.
Well, you know, even before the elementary school, I went to kindergarten at St. Joseph. So before, you know, first grade. So I went to kindergarten. I remember my teacher was Mrs. Brown. Can remember vividly. In fact, the building that burnt down recently was the building that I attended kindergarten. And so it was really sad for me, but it also was good because it took me back to that moment where I first left the house to get an education, and so that was good. And then I went to Washington Public Elementary School, and that was a wonderful experience. It was right up the street from where I lived, so it was not far. It was even walking distance, although on many times I rode the bus. And when I missed the bus, I could walk to school, and in fact had to walk to school. And so Washington Public, I went there from first grade to fifth grade, and then we were quote unquote desegregated, and so from the sixth grade I went to Tuskegee Public. That was when we integrated or desegregated our public schools. There were those who had preceded me in that process.
I think one of them could have been your colleague, Mayor Hegood.
Absolutely, he was there when I got there. He was in, if not the first class, the second class that desegregated that school. And so I remember him vividly being a football star up there, and so he was an older student, but you know, everybody knew each other because it was a small group of people who had been transferred to that school from the public schools, and after the the 6th and 7th grade, my 8th grade, I went to Tuskegee Institute High School.
TIHS.
Absolutely, Tuskegee Institute High School, and from there, obviously, I matriculated. The whole time in school, it was always about music, about dancing. It's about fun. You know, and so that carried on to Tuskegee Institute High School, being in the band.
So can I interrupt?
Absolutely.
Not interrupt, but may I pause for a second?
Absolutely.
To the listening audience in the WWW, this young man and myself, we were schoolmates,
Absolutely.
and we were within the same band with the one and the only William C. Brassfield.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
the Golden Virtuosos.
Golden Virtuosos.
Right.
And then we moved on to the collegiate level.
Absolutely.
Tuskegee Institute, currently Tuskegee University.
The Marching Crimson Piper Band.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And did you hear how he said that? Because Mr. Neal is a former golden voice of the Crimson Piper Band, and I'm the current
Absolutely.
golden voice of the Crimson Piper Band.
Yeah.
So we have so much in common within that respect of being in the same venues and having so much time together at rehearsals. And I've known him personally. You might have forgotten we've gone fishing before.
Absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely for sure.
So
yeah.
We share a kinship that is second to none, and he rose to the position of the mayor of Tuskegee. So let's go on to the additional collegiate. I'm hearing, or I think I have an understanding that you did matriculate or have some type of with this entity, the University of Alabama, Troy, and Harvard.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I went to Tuskegee and got my BS in business administration. But even before that, Mr. Covert, I went to the Montgomery Police Academy and graduated in the police academy.
Impressive.
Earlier, and I wrote the proposal for the Youth Aid Division for the Tuskegee Police Department and became its founding director. That was during the time I was in school. So I was working full time and going to school full time in the band. And you know what those hours were, and so I was navigating all of that at the same time.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
no.
I have to say this because this is for documentary historical significance. If you had never seen the Tuskegee University Marching Crimson Pipers in person during the time when we were in the band, you would have known who Omar Neal was. He made it a point to march or perform at the dance routine and on the end so he could be noticed, seen, and remembered. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
You had a great time, didn't you?
Absolutely. We were saying that all of this was because Tuskegee was always this special place, this comfort zone for us. We were given permission to be ourselves, right?
Yes.
And our best selves. And so everything we did at Tuskegee, we wanted it to be the best. In fact, I don't see Tuskegee as a place, man. I see Tuskegee as a spirit of excellence and a spirit of service. Basically that's what it is. It's like excellence and service met each other in Tuskegee and married, and now they live happily ever after, right? It's that spirit of Tuskegee. So, given opportunities, let me digress a little bit. When I went to Tuskegee Public, it was I don't know, maybe a month or so. I was there. They had a talent show.
Yes.
Now this was the first time that any African American had participated in the talent shows. Before it was all white, and I think I was the first African American to really participate in the talent show, and I won.
You did?
Right, and that was a big thing because it was like the little black kid went in and won, and I was singing, sitting on the dock of the bay.
Okay, then. Okay.
And so that song always has a special meaning to me. Because it was at that moment, and I was in front of a large audience, and I remember Attorney Fred Gray Sr. was in the audience, and he always reminded me of that day. That evening was an evening talent show, and the whole community came out, black and white, and it was a really, really good time for me during that time.
So let's move on to Tuskegee University. Now, is it in order Troy and then Harvard, or is it vice versa?
No. It was Tuskegee University, then Troy University. I got my master's in public management. Then I went on to Harvard later in government, state and local government.
So the venue you were in with Troy, you immediately knew it was a completely reversed place than Tuskegee.
Oh, demographics, yeah, absolutely.
And then I would think, don't know, you can tell us, that Harvard is a completely different place from all of them.
Absolutely, that's true. They were very different in their own right, but you know, at the moment by which I was matriculating through those various institutions, it was the right time for me. You know, I'd been in an African American community all of my life,
yes,
right? Although there was a level of, you know, desegregation. I have a difficult time saying integration, because integration to me means the sharing of power. And although they sent the children to Tuskegee Public, there were few black teachers during that time. And so we had desegregation, not integration. But, you know, even from that moment, that was a special moment as I was evolving into seeing the world broader, right? When I went into Troy, even a broader situation where I was in class with people from all over the country, as I was with Tuskegee. That's one of the great things about Tuskegee. You could be in the class with somebody from overseas or California or wherever. So it was a great experience for the diversity of experiences that came to Tuskegee as well. So it was not as if that was new, but it was new in terms of more of the racial mixing was different for me. Because, you know, when I grew up in Tuskegee, I don't know if there was one white person in the public schools when I first started. At Washington Public, I'm sure it wasn't. And Tuskegee Institute High School, you remember maybe one or two? Maybe I don't know.
Cassie Redhead.
Yeah, maybe. Because we were there at the same time, right? So there was not a lot of diversity there. So my diversity was kind of in the middle of elementary school and high school, and then I got a lot more diversity in terms of my interacting with people of different ethnic groups in college. And Troy was one of those experiences. And of course, Harvard was a whole nother experience. Not only do you interact with people of different ethnic groups, but people from around the world. Everybody's, you know, not everybody, but a lot of people trying to get in Harvard, right? And so when you get one of those slots and you sit in a classroom in Harvard, there is a demand that's placed on you unlike any other demand that I've ever had. That's if there's a such thing as the hardest academic environment, that was it for me. You know, they really got whatever it is out of you. They absolutely got all of it at Harvard, and but it was a great experience. If I can recall, every instructor was the author of the textbook.
Is that right?
Right. That's the level of excellence that Harvard presented.
Well, that makes you educationally well-rounded. And we are in the getting to know you segment, and I would be remiss if I did not ask this question, and you would be in trouble if I didn't ask it either, when you didn't say it, and that is your wife and children,
right?
Your child.
Yeah.
Say something.
Yeah, my wife, Debbie Mitchell Neal, we met here. In fact, she was a student at Tuskegee University. I did not know her. I saw her on the campus, but I didn't know her. We later met 4 formally, if you will, at a homecoming many years
Great place to
later,
be.
right? And it was at the Holiday Inn where everybody used to gather, and a friend of hers, Renita, was a classmate. She'd taken a class with me, and so I saw Renita, and of course I went over to greet her, and my wife was not my wife then, but Debbie was sitting there, and I told her to move over. She was sitting on an end table, because people were sitting all around. I said, move over, and she says, I don't know if I want to move over. I say, I'm like Brio cream, a little dab will do me. Just give me a little corner. That's all I need. And and she laughed, and that was the beginning of what ended up being now 30 years together. Yeah, and we have to that union we have a beautiful daughter, Omari Drene.
I wonder why she's named Omari. Is it
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what happened there.
Okay.
But Omar with an I.
There it is.
And so again, she is just a wonderful spirit. I know people talk about their children, favorably because it's their child. But my daughter is special, and she's always been very special. She's a very loving, caring person. That is her makeup. I remember when there was a young lady that it was called a bully on campus. In fact, my daughter went through all of the schools I went to. She went to Washington Public. She went to Tuskegee Public. She was in Tuskegee Institute High School. I mean, it wasn't that.
Yes,
it was called Tim's Middle School, right? Yes. And then she went to BTW, but obviously that wasn't here. But she went through all of the schools that I attended as well. But I remember an incident where it was a young girl that people called her a bully. She would bully the other little children. And I was coming to pick Omari up, and I noticed that Omari gave the young girl that they call a bully a hug, and on the way to the car. And I said, that was nice of you to give her a hug the way you go to. She said, yeah, the people call her a bully, but she's not really a bully. She just needed a hug.
Like many of us do.
Right. Hurt people. She recognized that even then, that she needed a hug.
But you know that the Christian Bible says, and I know that you're a Christian, that we are to not raise our kids, but we are to train them up in the way. So she was watching Mommy and Daddy. She got that from you guys.
Yeah. Well, more is caught than is taught. People learn best by precept and example. That's correct. But, even as I watch her grow and evolve as an adult, I'm still learning from her. She has been a great inspiration to me. She's very independent in terms of her thinking, and she's independent in terms of what she does. My daughter goes to church regularly. That's not something that I do now, but it doesn't matter whether or not we went or not. She went to church even if her mother and I didn't go, because that's what she wanted to do. And so to have that kind of independence, I think has always been something that I admired about my daughter.
Well, that was a wonderful segment we just went through, getting to know you. It's wonderful information within that segment, and lots of others can incorporate some of those things with their children, if they have younger children, that they may be able to say as time goes on that they're wonderful kids. So now let's go out and about, living and sharing a life of worth.
Right.
You, Mayor Neal, if people don't know, wait on it, are the president and chief executive officer of, here we go, You Got the Power. Enterprises Incorporated.
Absolutely.
Share with the audience when it was founded, and what and whom were you attempting to reach?
Right. Interestingly enough, all of this came out of this Tuskegee experience. It was 1991 when You Got the Power was founded. It was basically my feeling that there has to be a vehicle in Tuskegee to disseminate information to the public. I can recall vividly going to Mr. George Clay and telling him that I wanted to do a talk show on radio. And he was reluctant because there are many who had come to him to do that, but they were not consistent. They would come and not come, and he was just really no, I don't think I want to do talk radio. And I convinced him that I wouldn't do that. If I put my word to it, I'll be there, I would be consistent. That was August 15th, 1991.
Wow.
From that day to this day, I'm still on the air.
Congratulations.
Doing the same thing.
Congratulations.
32 years later.
And the platform that you're offering to the audience that listens in to you, what are you sharing with them, and what is the essence of the entire entity?
It's interesting that you said that. You know, and I guess they get something from me, but it's more of a platform to synthesize truths. You know, I believe that we all are possessors of some truth. And as we bring our truths together, then and only then do we get closer to the truth, right? So I wanted a forum by which we were able to share our truth, right? And speak to each other, not at each other, right?
Very
To you know, there is a saying that I try to incorporate in everything that I am, and that is, seek first to understand, then to be understood.
Immortal words for many, matters not the ethnic group, social status, anyone and everyone should adopt that.
Yeah.
I have one, and it's like this. If someone fell, you're not supposed to look at where you fell, you look at where you slipped, because you wouldn't have fallen if you knew not to slip.
Right.
So, and that's just not in a physical sense, but that is in speaking to people, treating people in certain ways. Don't slip so you have to fall with someone. So I think it might be something similar to what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, do you have a well-known guest sometime, or the average person will come on and be a part of your programming?
You know what's interesting? When I go back and just think about the guests I've had everything from presidents, the sitting president, Bill Clinton. I've had artists like Curtis Mayfield. I did an interview with Curtis Mayfield that's now in the African American Radio Hall of Fame.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
That particular interview. I've interviewed just about anybody that I can think about. I mean, over the years, obviously, thousands and thousands of people. And so I have been very fortunate, blessed, if you will, to have had the opportunity to sit down with many people. I can recall an exclusive we did when I was on the radio in Montgomery, WXVI. And we had the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and we had an exclusive with him. And so I sat with 2 consecutive hours, as close, maybe closer than you and I are, with Minister Farrakhan, just talking. And because it was an exclusive, the entire city of Montgomery looked like was listening to that interview. And that was, when it comes to one of the highlights of my career, that would be one of them because of when it took place, and the messages the profound messages that I gain from that interview will always resonate with me.
Well, you know, most people wouldn't see it, they wouldn't know it, but you do at this particular time. And because of your professionalism within that venue, it probably doesn't mean anything. But to the average person who is doing what you're doing, being a host, now you're being interviewed. How does that feel to you?
Well, you know, it's different, you know, obviously, but it's the same because it's exchange, right? And even as you know, I have shared some things about me. In the interview, you notice you share some things about you. And so it's not, you know, I know that you are interviewing me formally, but we are having an exchange.
We're like dance partners.
That's exactly right.
This is dance.
And so I see it from that vantage point. And so I always want the people who are my guests to feel like they're part of the show, that they have an integral part of the show. And so that's how that is. But it's an honor to be here to share.
Well, it's an honor to have you here because you are within history. You are one of the 5 African-American mayors of the historic city of Tuskegee. Before we leave, we're not going to leave it, but how can they reach You Got the Power?
Right. Okay. Well,
give me some addresses.
Several things. One is we're live each Wednesday at 12 o'clock noon Central Standard Time on Facebook Live. So Facebook, and then it's chronicled on Facebook.
Can you say that one more time, so they can really get that, because we need to come and hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Omar Neal on Facebook Live, and the show is live every Wednesday at 12 o'clock noon. Or you can tune in to the radio station at WRNE 980.com. That's WRNE 980.com. And you can tune in through to the radio station as well.
You know, just speaking with you, I gather that this, what I'm about to ask you, is a major concern of yours. And that is the condition that African Americans find themselves in, AKA, also known as post-traumatic slave disorder. Do you know anything about that, or?
No, absolutely. In fact, Dr. Joy Deliri, I was just reading and looking at a video on that just recently. You know, this notion that somehow something can happen in a vacuum, that something can happen and it does not have a rippling effect, is not realistic. One is we are an environment. We are a product of our environment. So whatever I've gone through, I transfer that to my environment. So if I go through trauma, then my children, my child, if you will feel the same trauma of her father, right? And vicariously, that trauma will be transferred to everybody that she interacts with. And that is not, that's not relegated to any individual. That is any people. So slavery, can you imagine, just just imagine people being put in a ship, in the belly of a ship, and transferred thousands of miles, not fed properly, people dying, cramped, right? You got it. And the people who survived that,
the strongest,
right? They are the strongest. And we became the descendants
of the strongest.
Which
makes us
the strongest, right? And so, but with the same notion that we were able to endure the horrific experience of the Middle Passage, we also internalized much of the pain and the anguish associated with being subject to that kind of treatment. And I think as a consequence, many of us have perpetuated that same treatment on each other. That's why hurt people hurt people.
You know, it's very interesting that you said that. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to, and this should be very easy for you.
Okay.
I would think. You just stated that we are a product of our environment. Mm-hmm. And you, myself, and the director and the cameraman, Jesse Harris, went through school at the same time. Mm-hmm. But Tuskegee has people like Booker T. Washington, George Washington Carver, the Tuskegee Airmen, Alice Coachman Davis. I can go on and on and on.
You got a couple of years? Because it take you that long to go through them, absolutely.
That makes us, because that was their environment, we are a product of their environment, and we've passed that on. So do you think that being from Tuskegee, with all of those notables that I just named, has propelled and or helped, along with all of the work that you've done, made you've got the power that much better?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I'm glad that you were able to synthesize, you know, what I said and bring it back and contextualize it in that. And that's very good that you were able to do that. Yes, you know, in order to be it, you have to first see it, right? And so what I saw growing up in Tuskegee was greatness. I saw doctors and lawyers and teachers and preachers and people of architects and engineers, and I mean every walk of life was around you. You know there. I went to school with their children, right? You know what I mean? And so so it was nothing that I ever thought about that I couldn't do because I was seeing people who look like me doing it.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So what it did, in a very real way, it expanded the realm of possibility, right? That if I can see it, I can be it, and I'm seeing it. So I can be it. Right?
So when you were in Harvard, they saw you face value as another black guy, but they didn't know the wealth of integrity. Boy, you had it all. You were not intimidated, even though it was difficult. You wasn't afraid because Booker T did it.
Right.
Carver did it.
Right.
Airman did it.
Right.
And you did it. Because guess why you did it? Because you got the power. I'm turning the tables on you.
Yeah, I know.
Yes. So we have just mingled through the out and about, living a serious or sharing life of worth. Let's go on to mayoral things.
Okay.
You served as mayor of the historic city of Tuskegee.
Yes.
From the years 2008 to 2012. The question is, what prompted you to seek the office of mayor?
You know, I can recall vividly when that epiphany, that charge, that revelation, if you will, came to me. I was coming into Tuskegee from out of town, and as many people, you know, you were not pleased with what you were seeing. In a lot of ways. Aesthetically was one of them. I just didn't think we were growing at the rate I thought we could grow. I was looking, even comparing Auburn and Montgomery and other surrounding communities, and I just didn't feel that we were growing. Well, there were three concepts that came to me at the same time. One is, once you know, then you owe. Right? Second,
say that again.
Once you know, then you owe. Right? The next one was, you know, to him much is given, much is required. And then the last one that just nailed it. Booker T. Washington said, cast down your bucket where you are. And those converging thoughts came upon me at one time, and I recognized that I had to do something. Now, I was not clear on exactly what I was going to do, but I knew I had a charge to keep. I grew up in church, and there was a song that resonates at this moment, and that's a charge to keep I have, and a God to glorify, and every dying soul to save, to fit him for the sky, to serve this present age, my calling to fulfill, may at all my power engage to do my master's will. And that's exactly what I felt I had. It was a charge. It was an assignment.
That you had to keep?
That I had to do. I could not run away from it. I could not abdicate it. I could not ignore it. I knew that it was something I had to do, but I also know that it had to be a divine assignment. It could not be just aspirational. I knew that it, because if that were the case, then I never would have been elected. And I know that. It had to be that moment. And I also know that not getting reelected was also a divine assignment, right? Because there's a blessing and a lesson in everything. And so your question is, so when you see things, you don't ask yourself why that's happening. No. What's the blessing and what's the lesson? And different people have different assignments at different times. And not only does the Creator prepare the speaker, he simultaneously prepares the listener when it's time.
Tell us something about Operation Tuskegee Renaissance.
Another epiphany. I mean, it's the same. In Mr. Colbert, it's very similar to when I ran for mayor. It was. I felt I needed to do something. Now I'm very good friends with the current mayor, Mayor Lawrence Tony Haygood. We've worked together before. I worked at Southern Community College with him. So we know each other very well. So we've interacted. We went to school together. So I said I want to go to him and ask him if he would give his blessings for me to let's clean up the community. Let's just start with that. Let's just do what grandmama say. You don't have to have a lot of clothes, but they can be clean, right? You don't have to have a big old house, but it can be clean, right? There's something fundamental about that. And even if you look at it from a biblical perspective, which you look at it, cleanliness is next to godliness, right? And so if we want to have a godly community, a community that is welcoming, then we need to make sure that it is aesthetically pleasing. And so I said, well, just let me do this. And he gave me his blessings, and the county commission and the university and the utility board and the Chamber of Commerce, all of which said, let's do this. And then we came up with the concept of Operation Tuskegee Renaissance, which is the rebirth of this great city that I recall. And, and it was a difference. And at some juncture, I'll tell you what I believe happened to Tuskegee that's different from when we grew up here. Because when you remember when we grew up, it was a lot of businesses in Tuskegee. Many people don't know this, but I used to think Auburn was a hick town.
I'm with you.
Right? You remember that?
Yes.
I mean, we did not even see Auburn in the same light as we saw ourselves. I mean, that was, even Montgomery, I mean, that was the capital, but we just didn't, we were not, and it's not wasn't arrogant, but we knew that what we were.
We are Tuskegee.
We Tuskegee, right? and we actually felt it was a pride in having that label, a Tuskegean, right? And this is what I came, so the day I was elected, it's always going to be monumental, and this is why. My first day in office was the day that President Obama was elected.
Oh my goodness. Great scenario.
You see, I'm saying my first day in office. So I'm sitting in the office, the mayor's office, you know, just kind of just reflecting on where I am, the child born in Tuskegee, that the citizens give him the opportunity to serve them at the highest level of municipal government. And so I was sitting there, and then I thought about it. I said, well, why, what happened to this Mecca, this wonderful place called Tuskegee? Because I saw a regression in it. And then I realized something had happened. And it was a confluence of many things, but this is one thing. You remember before the 85 corridor was built, right?
Yes.
And we were here before the 85 corridor was built.
Yes. All of the traffic.
All of the traffic had to come through
Tuskegee.
And if you look at 29, it dead in the center of Tuskegee to hit 80.
That's right.
So all roads led
to Tuskegee.
Tuskegee, Alabama. So we were not just the beneficiary of local patronage, right, in terms of businesses, but transient. People were coming through and they were buying things. We
Gasoline,
had a lot
food.
of food, all of that, cars.
Yes.
We had multiple new car dealerships,
yes,
right, furniture, everything. People were coming to Tuskegee to do commerce, right? Because we were a center, a commerce center, clothing, everything. We had multiple. There was no store downtown that was not thriving.
That's correct. Had three pharmacies.
Oh, right.
A movie theater downtown.
Right. Absolutely.
The drive-in theater.
That's right.
Every business that we see now was basically in Tuskegee.
Absolutely. So we didn't have to go anywhere to entertain ourselves or whatever. We had all kinds of, for as we grow older, all kinds of nightclubs where the top acts in the country, in the world
came here.
Came to Tuskegee, to the Propeller Club. People came here, Black Forest. I mean, the Commodores and all of those people came from this place. I mean, the DuPonts and
the Jays and
Joettes and all of those great groups, many of which people don't know. Seventh Wonder and all of that.
I played with them for 2 years.
That's exactly right. I mean, so you are a percussionist, you're a drummer, and people may not know that, but I think it's important that people know that you are one of those top drummers, man. Right?
Thank you.
Right? You know, but the point of the matter is, Tuskegee was, all roads led to Tuskegee, in literally and figuratively, right? All you know, because Tuskegee was that standard of excellence for Black people. As you, when you wanted to measure what the possibilities of Black people or potential Black people, you would go and you would look at Tuskegee.
Tuskegee.
Right. Tuskegee was that measurement, because you knew that if you, whatever the subject was, you could find somebody in Tuskegee who had risen to the highest pinnacle in that particular area, or they were affiliated with Tuskegee in some kind of way, right? So what happened was, and as I looked at it, you know, kind of in hindsight, our strategic blunder was that we didn't take our businesses out to the interstate. And
I've noticed that.
Have we done that? If you notice,
Auburn,
Prattville, Auburn, Opelika, I mean, everybody takes their businesses out to the exchange.
Yeah, they got businesses from the interstate all the way to their small little city.
And then you walk it back. Yes. So you take it out, and you walk it back, make Tuskegee a destination location, right? Right? For our history, right? You know, that kind of thing. And secondly, I like music. I like to not only listen to music, but I like to play guitar and just relax and entertain myself.
That's going to end the rapid round, but I want to just ask you a small. You can answer this question with 2 words.
Okay.
What was your age group when you were serving as mayor? How old were you?
I was in. Let me get back. I was in my 50s.
Okay. All right. Okay, now we are coming to our segment closing. We're coming to the closing, and you know, it's a miracle that we have gone this far and not spend even more time. So, listen at this closing. If there was one question that you envisioned that I was going to ask you, but I did not ask you, what would that question be, and how would you have answered it, since you're an interviewer?
That's a good question, and you know, one is I don't normally anticipate questions. I flow. So whatever you ask me, I'm going to respond to it. So I don't really have any preconceived notions of what questions. You know, I don't. I'm more extemporaneous. So so that's a difficult question for me to respond to. However, you know, I think that the kinds of things that we talked about in terms of my role as the mayor, and let me go back to that question. Getting people to change the mindset about the community was probably one of the top priorities. You know, the fiscal stuff is true, but you have to get people to shift the paradigm, because many people had become comfortable in that should make them uncomfortable, complacent. They saw the conditions, and many people were not. I don't know if the word was they were not driven to do something about it at the level necessary to change, right? You know, you have to be driven to change something, and I didn't see that being something.
Priority?
Yeah, huh? Yeah, priority. Yeah. I think we were maintaining, and we were not growing and advancing. And one of the things that I recognize is that anything that does not grow dies, right? We had a decline in population that was every year, and you know, we losing middle class. VA hospital was being dismantled and outsourcing. It was and then Tuskegee University faculty was not living here. You know, that kind of thing. True. And so when you look at your middle class, and then there was what we call a leakage study that said that in Macon County, Tuskegee, Macon County spent $133 million annually in surrounding cities.
That's, wow.
Right.
Isn't that phenomenal?
Right. So to shift the paradigm, to create an economy, because there's a difference between creating an economy and people with money. So there's a difference with having money and having an economy, to create an economy. The next thing, I wanted to make this a college town versus a town with a college, right?
Like in Auburn and Alabama,
right? Absolutely, absolutely. I thought that was our greatest asset. Is Tuskegee University, its ability to leverage that and create the accoutrements and the amenities that students would want, and that would draw students not only to come to school here, but to want to live here afterwards.
That's correct.
Right, that kind of thing. So we could maintain that brain power that matriculates through Tuskegee.
So continuing within this closing mode, if there was one thing that you would want the masses to remember about your administration as mayor, what might that be?
Keep hope alive. That no matter where we are, Tuskegee is going to ultimately become the true and perfect manifestation of God's intent for it, because Tuskegee is not a place, it's a spirit.
So the time has arrived for closing remarks. Mayor Neal, my dear sir, Please close us out within your very own way. Say what you need to say to the audience, address them in the way that you would have them to know what you feel, what you're thinking, what you're doing, what you hope, what you wish, what you know, for them to do, not just those who are within Tuskegee, but those on the www, World Wide Web. Pass on something to them. Close out this wonderful interview.
Well, first of all, Mr. E. Jagady Covert, thank you so much, sir, for this opportunity. I really do appreciate this. I appreciate the opportunity to sit on the other side of the table, right, the other side of the desk, and to have an opportunity to express from my vantage point. You know, I recognize that each generation has the responsibility to address the concerns of its time, and that this is a special time. This is a special moment in the sojourn of Tuskegee. It's like a Kairos moment, a moment where the stars are lining up. And I believe that this moment, this window of opportunity, that Tuskegee, if we can just move beyond historical divisions, historical notions of mediocrity, and elevate our standards, that we can be that shining city on a hill, that beacon of light for not just African Americans, but for people around the world. I envision Tuskegee being the cleanest city on the planet. I envision Tuskegee drawing people from all over the world to be here, just like a Martha's Vineyard, to become the Martha's Vineyard of the South. In that winter, because people in frigid cities and states around the world, around the country, come to Tuskegee of a moderate weather to experience that, and that we have an amphitheater where there will be concerts year-round of all the beautiful music around the world. Ballet, everything, culture, at plays and artistry. I mean, that this is the place to be, that we have the largest, shopping mall in the world right here. with literally the outlet malls where they have all of the high-end stuff, the Neiman Marcus and the Saks and all of that, off Saks and all of that would be right here. And that people from Auburn and Montgomery and all would be coming to Tuskegee to shop again, because we would have something that no one in this area has. I envision us monetizing our history by having, sweet potato factories, and peanut factories, and we can ship sweet potato pies around the world. Tuskegee sweet potato pies, right? And then we have sweet potato candy and sweet potato ice cream and all of that. All of the products made from sweet potato and the peanut, that we begin to monetize. That I can envision Tuskegee leading in healthcare again by having a state-of-the-art research hospital here at Tuskegee, to erase the terrible history of the public health, the United States Public Health Service study that was conducted here at Tuskegee. I can see us being that place where research is done to solve the issues of cancer and diabetes and all of the many myriad of diseases that particularly that are plague the African American community. I can see us doing that, and I can see us building houses. We're working with a company now to bring in houses and to build the houses, to manufacture houses here in Tuskegee, and then to proliferate those houses throughout the community. We'll build them in a factory here, and then proliferate them throughout the community, taking out all of the dilapidated structures and it's the blight in our community, and replace it with beautiful structures that people will have places to work, that we have to go and find people to work in Tuskegee, because we have 100% employment in Tuskegee with livable wages, that we restore our middle class, and so that we can have a tax base that we can provide for all, and that we can live happily ever after. And I want us to be a community of love. And I leave you with this. And love is LOVE. And it's really this as an acronym. It's leaving others very encouraged.
Say it again so they can hear it.
Love is leaving others very encouraged. And so I know that you love Tuskegee, and I know that you love me, because I'm encouraged by this interview.
Let me give you one that I take something from everyone. You said this many years ago. You said, do you know what the word community means?
Yeah, absolutely.
Common
unity. Absolutely.
And that's what we
That's right.
need. Not just here, but all around the world.
Right.
Common unity. Live and let live.
Absolutely.
So we have tossed the proverbial ball around, and we reminisced, we remembered, and we had some fun, and we got a little serious on some things. But it has been indeed my pleasure, and I hope it has been your pleasure, those who are viewing this entity, that you've enjoyed this spectacular interview with the one and the only Mayor of Tuskegee, the Honorable Omar Neal. Thank you so very much, sir, for doing this.
And as always, I'd like to leave you with these two words. Remember that I love you with a perfect love. Amen. But more importantly, remember this. You got the power. Have a good day.
And with that said, Jesse Harris, cameraman and producer, and the Tuskegee Television Network, and all of the entities that will broadcast this, I've been your host, Jagady Covert. And so till next time, bye-bye.